Liquidity sweep or bull run? This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet. And looking at XYO, we are clearly completely undervalued. Just looking at this chart right here, back in 2023, 2024 being these orange and green lines, we are in 2025. The blue line, 65% underneath what is break even or zero. And we clearly see that coming here in November 19th, 8 days away. We had two pumps prior, the year before and the year before that, 20% above and 60% above. The fact that we are this low for XYO at this current price evaluation shows that we are clearly undervalued for XYO. Someone was bringing up XL1, which is a layer 1 for XYO. It's not really doing much, so I'm kind of explaining what XYO is going to be coming to see here in the upcoming months. This is on November 19th. Let's zoom forward. December 1st, up 131% for year 2023, 36% for 2024, and then 2024 completely surpasses that and is up 425%. So let's actually zoom into the chart. This is XYO, looks completely undervalued, is trying to break this downward trend line. And in previous history, like I just showed you, November, what was it, 19th? Something like that? Or November 19th or November 9th? What was it? November 13th, so November 19th. Let's go forward. November 19th is right here. So we're looking at a few more days, and it could potentially be testing this downward trend line yet again. And if it can break that downward trend line, we could expect that push up towards this double red dotted line area. Why do I say that area instead of any other area? Well, let's go back in previous history, and we see that we've had some rejection here back in August 14th and July 15th. We also had some consolidation going on here in April to May. And then let's go back even further. Here we had a pump up. Our current level is right here at 0.006 more or less. And we had a push up to 0.01, a penny before that consolidation phase, and then a major increase in price. XYO is very cheap at the moment. For those of you who are accumulating in here, we will be getting back to that area very soon. And I like to look at this at an inverted scale. So the the 200 EMA is pretty far away from where we are currently at. We are kind of getting tapped out, and I would expect this to be pulling back towards the 200 EMA, which would essentially be breaking this trend line and start building consolidation above the 200 EMA. Flipping back to normal, that is kind of what we'd be looking at. Once we get over this downward trend line, we'd be looking to break over that 200 EMA. And once we get over that 200 EMA, as we've seen in the past back here in November 15th of 2024, we held, pushed up, had that consolidation, and then a major increase in price. So for those of you who have not entered into XYO, we are building higher lows in the RSI. We just need a little bit of volume. I believe in the next week or so, we might start seeing some more major movement, all really depending on what Bitcoin's going to be doing. But Bitcoin is trying to hold a little bit of support around here at the $100 or $100,000 level, and starting to test this 200 EMA. Moving on, DNT, very similar to XYO, completely undervalued, far push away from the 200 EMA, and ultimately breaking this downward trend line, we would be working within the range of the 200 EMA and this downward trend line, hopefully getting a little consolidation before easing up over the 200 EMA and ultimately pushing up to the 4 cents and beyond, and moving back in history, major increase in price. I believe it was a penny to 20 cents, like nothing within a week or two. Major increase in price. So if you got a penny and a half, maybe 2 pennies, and you want to turn it into 2 dimes, DNT is definitely a good bet. Moving on, QNT. I'm going to do a video specifically for Tornado Cash because people do not know about it, and I keep promoting it because it's been one of the best coins in the market. QNT is doing exactly like I talked about, consolidation. We didn't want to see any kind of rejection, and we could expect a further push up, testing the 200 EMA and this downward trend line. And if that can get broken, the 618 is up here at $113. 83 bucks to 113, pretty good risk to reward ratio. For those of you who have been holding, we just got to wait it out. Market manipulation, what are you going to do? Dash, talked about Dash having its pullback, and what do you know? It had its pullback, did not hold over that $77 mark, pulled underneath it, and now could see the potential pulling down to this upward trend line and beyond to potentially tap that 200 EMA yet again. So definitely wait on your entry for Dash. If you saw that major pump, I think it was like 126% within a few days. Now you are going to be looking for your entry as we've had that pullback. Not yet. We could see a further drop. And a lot of the times when it pulls way away from the 200 EMA, we can see it pull back through the CM guppy, making it real thin before getting slapped by that 200 EMA back up to the $128 mark. Double money just waiting on the line for Dash. ZBCN. We've been following this pattern for quite a while now. Just something basic. You have an upward trend line and you have a downward trend line. We've tested the downward trend line many times. We've tested the upward trend line many times, and we are holding. We want to see it hold above that 200 EMA and test this downward trend line yet again for a push up to 144%. Keeping in mind we may get some rejection here at 0.005, 0.006, and 0.007. But ZBEC network has a lot of good utility behind it and has some pretty good potential. I'm waiting for ZBEC to break this downward trend line before looking at an entry personally. Lightlink is starting to build some support. Volume's looking good, but again, not a whole bunch of information for this coin. I'm sitting on the sidelines, not really looking at it too much. I'm going to come back to CTSI. Someone requested NCT. NCT, not a whole bunch to go off of either. Ultimately, it needs to get over the 200 EMA for you start looking at an entry. It does have a pretty high Fibonacci, 618 all the way up here at 7 cents. It's thinning out pretty nicely. RSI is trying to build a base, trying to push it upwards a little bit. I do want to see a little bit more volume before entering into something like NTC, and ideally holding above the 200 EMA is what we'd want to see, as we are kind of building lower lows. If we start building a trend line, something like this, it's not the best to be looking at that, but we would be essentially working within this channel, somewhere in this channel. So the upward momentum could be testing here, getting some resistance. Downward momentum, however, could be all the way down here at 0.005. Just not a whole bunch to be looking at the moment for NCT. BNT, however, I've been talking about BNT for a while, bringing it back into your attention as we are getting some support off this roughly 47 cent area. We had our original entry down here at 36. It's working within this downward channel. It's underneath the 200 EMA, so it's not the healthiest at the moment, but we could see this starting to build support back up towards this downward trend line. And ultimately, when it breaks that downward trend line, that's when you would be looking for your entry. We do need to see a little bit more volume for BNT. Zora, not much. Still working within a downward trend. AMP, however, getting some rejection. It is trying to build some support, trying to get a base for this one underneath the 200 EMA, but thinning out the CM guppy. So once it gets over that 200 EMA, you could expect a pretty nice pump for AMP. I personally do have a little big bag for this one. It is at 0.002, so way less than a penny. If you got $1, throw it at it, see what happens with your AMP. And lastly, CTSI is very nice, trying to stabilize, does have a very nice risk to reward. It broke this red downward trend line, which is very important. We've seen that happen in Tornado Cash. And once it gets over this 200 EMA, the resistance area between 10 cents and 14 cents, you may get a little rejection in here, but we could see some consolidation, and then there's no real resistance up to 24 cents. May get a little resistance at 24 cents, but beyond that, double money. So for 5 cents turning into 50 cents, pretty good ROI, and there's a long way to go for CTSI. Keeping in mind, we are a little oversold on the RSI, and there's no volume on this chart, but we've broken a downward trend line. Ultimately, once it gets over that 200 EMA, this thing can take off along with the rest of the market. So if you haven't entered into CTSI, it's definitely a good bet. None of this is financial advice, but good luck, have fun with it, and I will see you on the next one.